I think we have partially addressed that one, where we are saying the complaints in the past have been that, in Zambian electoral system that we have been using in the past, a lot of votes used to go to waste. Okay? Where, sometimes, even sport ballot papers have been like more than the valid ballots for different candidates, participating in an election. So what we are saying that why can't we make our votes count? A vote is one power of two that Zambian voters must not realize how powerful it is. Imagine you are using the 50% plus system. So for you to have that 50% plus one, you need just one vote. So imagine that one vote going to spoil, okay, without being accounted for. So we are saying in this proportional representation system, depending on the performance of those that are participating at presidential level, very few votes will go to waste, because those that are participating at presidential level must ensure that they submit the party list, so that at the end of the day, when they total the valid votes of presidential candidates at presidential level, then they use that quota system we have discussed to distribute those proportional representation seats. You realize that even if you didn't perform so very well, the chances of you having parliamentary and local government representation are quite high. Meaning, even if you performed so dismally in an election, at least you are assured that you are going to have representation at these levels. I think that is the rationale for introducing the third electoral system that we have discussed. Yes, there is a proposal within that Electoral Process Bill 2026, where they are proposing to remove the official stamp. So that is the ECZ stamp. All right? So any stamp authenticates a document. I can give you an example of you people who travel. You are leaving Kenneth Kaunda International Airport. Where do you go first? When you are checking, you have checked in. The last point of exit is the immigration department. So the immigration department will stamp your passport. So if you're traveling to Oliver Tambo, for example, you arrive there, they will check whether you exited legally at Kenneth Kaunda International Airport. So they will see the exit stamp. So even in there, they are going to stamp the entry stamp to authenticate your passport that you are legally in South Africa. So now, if you are on the polling day, the day of voting, there are those tables that they put. You are ushered into the polling station. Then you follow all those processes. The last table is a table where the stamp for the ECZ is under the custodian of an elections officer there. So when you have done all the processes now, the last stage is to ensure that your ballot is stamped behind before you go and mark your ballot, then you cast it. So that is a sign that your ballot is being authenticated. Are you getting that? It has got an official mark, official stamp of the election management board that is legally mandated to run elections. So no any other person has that stamp. Are you getting that? No any other institution has that stamp. The only institution in the world that has that stamp is the Electoral Commission of Zambia. Okay, so now, if you propose to remove that stamp, what you are saying is that any person can wake up. We have read about certain named compounds where we have got sophisticated people. They can easily go and manufacture a ballot paper. They come and starch in. So that is a recipe for voter starching. That is a recipe for voter rigging. So that is a danger. And that in itself cannot give birth to an electoral process that is free, fair, and credible. So stakeholders are saying, can ECZ not do that? Let them retain that mark. ECZ mark is an official stamp to authenticate and legalize a ballot. So within the same proposed bill, so there are provisions. For example, the way you object the nomination of a candidate at any level. Okay? For example, if I'm contesting as a member of parliament, I file in nominations, there's a window where my nominations can be objected to. For example, if I was serving a prison term, tenure, and the law says you cannot contest elections, somebody can object. If I'm not a registered voter, I'm not appearing in a voter's roll, somebody can just come and object. If I don't fit or sit within the qualifications of one to contest as a member of parliament as prescribed in the constitution, I'm supposed to be, at parliamentary level, I'm supposed to be a Zambian. A Zambian, I'm supposed to have a green national registration card. I'm supposed to be 21 and above. I'm supposed to be a registered voter. I'm supposed to have a grade 12 certificate. So if I don't have maybe one of those documents or all of those documents, then I've filed in nominations. Somebody can come and object. No, this Gilbert saying I cannot contest in this constituency because he's not a Zambian. He doesn't have a green national registration card. He's not a registered voter. He's below 21 years. He doesn't have a grade 12 certificate. So even those that are going to submit a party list, remember I've discussed the party list. If a party list is produced, a political party produces a list of 20 or even 40 people, as an example, and they are there. Any person within that political party, even an interested party, because if a political party is contesting elections, it's not a closed club, it's a public club, and even us outsiders have got an interest because that is a government in waiting. So if I see that on a party list, there's someone who doesn't qualify, because that party list you are presenting the qualifications of those that are contesting constituency-based seats, 226. They are the same qualifications to those that are going to go through the party list of proportional representation system. So if they don't meet the qualifications for one to be a member of parliament, then somebody can still object. You get that? So those provisions are there, and the time frame is still proposed in the proposed bill for one to do that. So that a political party that has been found wanting for having submitted people that may not qualify, they are given room to go back and rectify such a list. The same thing can happen even at a presidential level. Somebody can actually object the nominations of the presidential candidates. And if that objection is not, if somebody who has objected is not satisfied, there are also a legal route that you can take. You can actually go to court. Then at the end of the day, the court is allowed to independently rule on that undertaking. So those provisions are there proposed in the bill, and they are very positive provisions. So you realize that Zambia is a part to a lot of different international conventions and protocols governing the conduct of elections. One such regional body is the SADC. You remember that the SADC has got the SADC principles and guidelines on elections. All right? So some of the principles in there entails that the elections management body must be independent, must be seen to be impartial, must be seen to be transparent, must be seen to be accountable, must be seen to be inclusive. All right? So what gives me the confidence in the elections management board is that I must see the elections management board behave using those principles, benchmarks that I've actually spoken to. For example, if the Electoral Commission of Zambia is conducting the limitation, are they transparent in the way they're conducting the limitation? If they are proposing a law, like in this regard, the Electoral Process Bill, have they consulted the people? If they have consulted the people, are they taking on board the wishes and aspirations, submissions of the people? All right? Are they also inclusive? Are they including women? You are talking about women inclusion, disability inclusion, youth inclusion. Are they ensuring that the electoral environment is all inclusive? Is it transparent in the manner that administering the elections? So you remember the electoral cycle. Elections are not an event, a one-off event. Elections are a process. Okay, so we have got 3 cycles. We have got the pre-elections. So pre-elections, that is where election management board is supposed to conduct, voter registration, conduct delimitation, political parties are doing their nominations, all those things. Then you go into the actual elections, then post-elections. Are they being inclusive in all these processes? Okay, so now the buck stops at the Electoral Commission of Zambia to ensuring that they ascribe not only to the SADC protocols, the SADC guidelines, the SADC principles, also our own laws, because even our own constitution speaks to the aspect of an electoral process that is very simple, that is very transparent, and that is very accountable. So that me as a voter, I retain my confidence in an umpire that is going to umpire the elections. I'm not a potential candidate, but I can speak on behalf of potential candidates on those roles. Excuse me. Apart from that, those that are contesting as independent, they are not affected. I don't need a certificate of adoption if I'm contesting as an independent. For all information, we have discussed that even at presidential level, the Constitution provides for someone to contest as independent. At parliamentary level, mayoral level, council chairmanship level, or even in local government level, councillorship level, one can contest as independent. So they are not affected. So now, the potential risk of me not being on the ballot is the introduction of such stringent requirements like the Secretary General of the political party, mandatory appearing at the register of societies, signing my certificate of adoption. You and me have heard the cries of political parties, where a political party goes to an elective convention, they elect new office bearers, but for them to effect changes at the register of societies, it becomes an issue. Are you getting that? So the register of societies can easily say, no. This person they have put as Secretary General does not appear at the register of society. So you are automatically disqualified. So that would be a requirement. So to us, that requirement is a detriment, it's a danger, it's a recipe for political and electoral anarchy, which they want to put in there. So what we are saying is that there are political parties that do not have secretary generals, okay? They can have a group of people who are recognized within a political party performing administrative functions within that political party. So it can be the president of the political party. It can be the secretary general of the political party, the treasurer, or chairman or chairperson for elections. Any of them can actually sign because they are recognized within the political party. Then we are saying, if you are talking about decentralization, why can't you allow maybe at constituency level, maybe an official performing administrative functions at a constituency level, sign the certificate of adoption for parliamentary candidates in that particular constituency, and at ward level, you get that, those that are contesting as the local government. Okay, so those are some of the potential risks of being defranchised if I want to contest elections. And also, not only maybe me as a man, for example. What about the women? What about the youths? What about persons with disabilities? Okay, because you find that sometimes maybe you want to contest in a rural setup. Maybe you need to travel to go and meet the Secretary General. Okay, God forbid, suppose the Secretary General drops dates today. the time of nominations is today, or the date for nomination is tomorrow, then it drops the date today. By the time the political party is changing the office bearers or changing the SG, by the time they are writing, maybe it drops date on a Sunday, and nomination is on a Monday. So these, they look very simple, but there are very serious ramifications to our democracy if we're going to allow such provisions to find themselves in our statutes governing the elections. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Because you see, you have been following political events in Zambia, and there is party factionalism. You get that, right? So there are certain political parties. You know, we are coming from the background where, you remember in by-elections, during by-elections, where ECZ was insisting that this political party, okay, must come with an adoption certificate signed by the president and the SG. But there are certain political parties where they have got maybe 3 SGs because there are factions within that political party. You getting that? So now, the only SG who can sign on an adoption certificate is the SG that is recognized at the of societies. You get that, right? So away from that, no any other SG can do that. So that in itself may limit others who want to contest on different political factions. You get that? Then also, you know, we have also observed where there is no stability within these political parties. You find that these political parties aligned to your political party, then the following day, we withdraw from your political party, we go to a different political party. So there's no stability and consistency. There's no integrity. Maybe you can say there's less integrity amongst political parties. So you find that it's very difficult to trust one political individual vested with power to sign my adoption certificate for me to participate in elections. Okay, so the best thing is we just have to administratively agree who is going to do that, and let them do it at maybe at a different levels, national level, you know, district level, maybe constituency level, so that you reduce the burden of one person signing all those certificates, like I outlined, the number of candidates that we are going to have in all the elections at different levels. Yeah, I think yes, in the final analysis, the bill, if refined, must clearly state how political parties are going to conduct their democratic elections for them to come up with the party list. That is very important. Okay, because if you just say democratically, you know, process, you and me, we can sit as a family. It's a democratic process. I consult my wife, consult my sister, my children. Then so here is the party list. The party list comprising just one family. It can happen. So we need to be clear. That's number one. Then number two, we don't need to risk tampering with our ballots. Let the ECZ be stamped on the ballot. What we need is ECZ to raise a lot of awareness amongst the people that they are recruiting to run elections. Because that mistake is not a mistake of me, a voter. You get, it's a mistake of an officer that is in charge of the ballot. So, you know, civic education and voter education must be twofold. Me as a voter must be civically educated to say you cannot cast a ballot that is not authenticated through a date stamp for the ECZ, official date stamp. Even an officer. So you place, as you are placing those officers within the polling districts, you place officers who is, the only job of that particular officer is to get the stamp and stamp it. So why should somebody have such a very serious omission when I've been given such a huge task? So I think we need to raise a lot of awareness around that. And also the other maybe issue to our people that we may not have discussed initially is the issue of delimitation that is going on. We have seen there's a lot of excitement. No, they have approved the dividing of the constituencies, but ECZ clearly told us that they are going to have 116 sessions in all the 116 districts, but only 70 constituencies will be created. You get that? Now, here's the question. In an event that all the 116 districts submit and propose that we need the limitation in our respective districts. So what criteria is the ECZ going to use to allocate those 70 seats? Are you getting that? What criteria are they going to use? Because the technical committee proposed the 70 seats to be allocated like maybe 7 per province times 10, that is 70. So that you have equal distribution of the constituencies, okay, around those 10 administrative and political provinces that we have. So we are yet to see ECZ the way they are going to do that. All right, because it may be a recipe for a lot of electoral conflicts if it is not going to be well handled. If other constituencies or districts are going to receive the division or delimitation of constituency, then others do not receive. Then in the final analysis also, I think it's a call to our people, the stakeholders in the electoral process, to ensuring that they follow through this legislative amendment process that we are going through. Then they make their submissions. Then they appear before the parliamentary committees, if called upon, to just go and make their submissions before this bill is tabled before Parliament. But all in all, they must know that we still retain the other two electoral processes, the systems. We still retain the majoritarian system at presidential level. We still retain the first past the post at parliamentary and local government. Then we have included the proportional representation system, where 40 seats, 20 for women, 15 for young people, the youths, and 5 for the persons with disabilities are going to be allocated based on the total valid votes obtained by a presidential candidate in the general elections. And after 14 days of counting, verifying a winner is declared, that's when the ECZ is going to sit using the formula provided in the Act. It is going to be enacted. Then they allocate the seats to political parties that deserve the seats to be allocated.